evening, everyone, and a warm and beautiful virtual welcome to this edition of Trends.co Connect. I'm your host. My name is Zainab Ibrahim, and I'm thrilled to have each and every one of you joining us today. On today's episode, we'll be discussing developing learners' mindset towards overall career and business growth. In today's rapidly changing world, success in both career and business requires more than just skills and experience. It demands a mindset that is open to learning, adaptable to new challenges, and committed to continuous growth. Our guest for today is Teresa Odo. She's an author and personal growth coach. Teresa is a seasoned advocate for small and medium-sized enterprises, a pivotal role in propelling Nigeria and Africa towards rapid development. She has worked as a STEM advocate and growth manager at Brainiac STEM and Robotics. She is currently leading strategy and operations at Mindshift Business Solutions. Teresa, welcome to Frenchworks Connect. Good evening and how are you?
Hi, good evening, Zainab. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. And yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thank you. So a quick word from Trent's word.
If you're looking to boost your business brilliance, you're an entrepreneur or you run a school, have a restaurant, or you're just individuals who like to showcase your story, please feel free to do so via Trends Watch Weekly magazine. You can amplify your influence. Visit our website www.trendswatch.co/contact/, to be part of the next big thing.
Without much ado, we're going to dive right into the topic of today. I'll be asking Teresa a couple of questions, and I'm positive she's capable and well prepared and ready to answer my questions and your questions. So as the event progresses, please feel free to use the chat box to drop in your suggestions, your contributions, your questions, and I'll be attending to them at every point in time. So hi, Teresa. My first question for you is growth mindset, learner mindset, and grit is much talked about by many professionals, coaches, teachers, and mentors alike. Teresa, please tell our audience, what does growth mindset really mean to you?
Thank you so much, Zay. And once again, welcome everyone from wherever you are joining in. I'm excited to be here. So just to sort of get us started, growth mindset, I'm going to start by saying there are two core mindsets. So it's either the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. And the fixed mindset describes the belief that, skills, talent, and intelligence is fixed. Literally, is fixed. It doesn't change. It cannot grow. That's one kind of mindset. And then the growth mindset, which we'll be focusing a lot on today, describes that belief that my skills, my talents, my intelligence can be developed over time, when I put in hard work, I'm focused, there's discipline. And, we live in a world, just like, your question actually stated, that is rapidly changing. And it's important to believe that you can grow, you can develop whatever skills you have today, it can actually become better. And that's why, as we go ahead, we'll talk a lot about why this mindset is important. But for definitions, you have it there. Growth mindset just describes that belief that skills, intelligence, talent, abilities can be developed over time through hard work, discipline, focus, and all the other things. Thank you.
Let me personally add commitments to the list of everything you've mentioned because some of us struggle with that. Some of us being me struggle with commitment and discipline to certain things. Yeah. So my next question for you is, can you share with our audience why a learner mindset is important for career and business growth?
That's another really brilliant question. And I'm going to be highlighting two main points under this on why, a learner's mindset is important. Now, let me paint this scenario. So if, for example, I run a business, which I do, but I'm sure many of us either run a business or we work somewhere. And even for people who work somewhere, they usually will have a side hustle, something they are doing. Yeah. So if you run a business and maybe last year, 2023, at the end of the year, you were looking at your financial records and maybe you generated, let me be generous. Maybe you generated $100 million last year, right? And this year you're like, oh, we did You're like, oh, we really did well, and I would want to, I want to double that this year. The
Yeah,
first thing that would happen is that something has to change with what you're doing.
of
Because
course.
what you were doing that created $100 million will likely not create $100 million. So you will
Yeah,
likely need to improve. You will need to
yeah,
learn new things. So you
yeah,
see that's like the first thing you must always remember when you think about a learner's mindset. If you want to
yeah.
change your results, you must learn. And that's the
Mm,
first point, when on why a learner's mindset is important. Except you want to stay the same, except you don't really care about increasing your result. If you want to increase your output, you
mm,
must, by all means, pay attention to developing a learner's mindset, right? And, I always like to say that the only way to produce a new level of result is to have new knowledge and new information at your disposal, right? So if you are not thinking, how do I change this? How do I create more result for myself? Then you can as well not choose to learn, right? But if you know you want to change your result, then you have to learn. That's one. The second thing, still under that question is the fact that we live in a rapidly changing world. So it's this way.
yes.
Even if you don't want to change, the world is changing.
All the
And except you want
time.
to be obsolete, you have to learn, to adapt to this change. And I like to use the example of, I'm sure many of us have heard about skills for the future of work, critical
Yeah,
thinking, problem solving, and all of that long list. Now, maybe about 20 years ago, people knew these things, but not the way we talk about them now, right? Now, imagine that, you just feel like, I don't care, I just want to keep doing my thing. What would happen is you will not fit into this current workspace, and you would be complaining that, oh, you're not getting the kind of things you want. Meanwhile, you are neglecting what is required for these times that we live in. And so
yeah,
the fact that the world is changing means that you have to keep up. In fact, you even want to be ahead of the change. Those
okay.
who are actually creating the kind of results we look up to and we're like, wow, this is amazing. It's because they were actually ahead of the curve. Do you see? So now somebody would even, we're also talking at a level of, oh, let me follow the change, right? Let me keep moving as things are changing. But there's even another level where you're saying, oh, how about in my industry? I'm even ahead of the curve, and I'm saying that what's the next frontier? What can we do next? To be that person, you have to learn. You have to
Yes.
commit to lifelong learning. You can't say that, oh, I'm done with school and that's it. No, you have to always learn. So I hope I've answered your question, and I've dropped 2 points, and I hope
Yes,
that those 2 points
you
resonated.
have. And let me add to what you said, because two things came to mind as you were speaking. I remember reading the book Will by Will Smith, the actor, and he mentioned that there was a point in his career when he had to think outside of the box to say, okay, people are making movies. They know me in America, but I want to be known worldwide. So what do I need to do? And just like you mentioned, being innovative in your industry is very important. And he felt at the time that there was nobody actually doing music and acting and using the two to promote, the other. And he started doing that. He started giving like free music shows at events and using that to promote the movies. And according to him, it was one of the things that earned him being the number one most paid actor of the time in the 90s. And, I can imagine it was being just complacent, like you said, what would have become of him. So, what you mentioned will take me to the next question, which is that successful people often become complacent. Some often stop challenging themselves to achieve greater results. We've seen great athletes like Serena Williams, Michael Jordan, and so many more who keep pushing themselves. What suggestion can you give to our listeners on what they can do to overcome complacency?
Thank you. And this is a very interesting question. Why? Because I remember sometimes last year I had a conversation with a few young people, young professionals, and someone had asked that, oh, it feels like you're always doing one thing or the other. There's always something new happening for you. Don't you get
Yeah.
complacent? And I was like, the honest truth is, the likelihood you get to that point where you feel like, oh, I've tried and I want to rest is very high, especially if you're an high achiever where you are constantly pushing the frontiers for yourself. So it
Yeah.
happens, right? And I think the first thing to establish is that it doesn't necessarily mean you're not serious. It just means that it's just that space of life where sometimes you want to be complacent. You just feel like, I've tried, I want to just relax. That's one way to look at it. Now, the next thing is that even if that happens, you cannot afford to stay there. Reason being that it will take us back to what we said in the first question, that the second question rather, that you would become obsolete, and you don't want to be, a one-time wonder where somebody's like, oh, 10 years ago, this person was XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. I mean, entertainment industry is always a good way. It's always a good example. You'll be like, where is this person? This person's song was everywhere just a few years ago. And you're like, where is this person? And then when you find an artist, right, who is still, again and again, like, wow, this person has been in the industry for a long time and the person is still there. There's a way it makes you feel. And so you see, that's a major reason why you cannot encourage complacency. And I'm going to mention 3 things that can help with dealing with complacency. And the first will be that always have a picture of the next, right? Always have a picture of the next. At every point in time, you must ask yourself that, what's the next level of this work that I'm doing, for example? What's the next level for my career? Oh, okay, let me not jump to the next point, but at the very basic level, right? If you work in a place, you cannot afford to be blindsided to what next level promotion will look like. And it's not even just because, you just want stuff, and all. Is that there has to be something you're aspiring to. If not, what will you be doing every day? You just wake up and, you go to bed, and there's really nothing that, there's nothing that, is sort of driving you. So that's the first thing. There has to be a picture of the next, and you must keep that picture at all times. Even if you are in that space of saying, oh, I've really done a lot, make sure that picture is still there. So that after that, I've really done a lot, you're able to recover and be like, there's still a lot to be done, right? That's one. The next thing I'll say is, the next point on that is community. I like to say that there are 3 kinds of people you must have in your life at every time. People who are ahead of you, people who, where they are today is like your own dream. You're like, this is my dream. Yes, this is my dream. This is where I would like to be. So you must have that kind of person. Then you must have people who are on your level, who you can rub minds together. And then you must have people who are coming behind you, who you are sort of maybe mentoring, providing support for and guidance, right? So those 3 kinds of people are critical, right? And what that community does for you is, you are not in that space where, that thing we say about, in a world of blind people and a one-eyed man, right? A one-eyed man is, what's it called now? He's like king, because everybody's feeling like, oh, everybody's blind, but this person has one eye. So you don't want to be that person. So you want to make sure that you have a community that challenges you at all times. That's what I'm speaking to. So even when you feel complacent, your community can be the reason why you're like, I can't stay here, I have to do more. The final thing will be, there has to be something bigger than you that is driving you. And what does that mean? Everybody who has sought to change the world, I mean, think about people like Thomas Edison, think about someone like, Isaac Newton, some of these people that did phenomenal stuff. Even more contemporary people, like Steve Jobs and the rest of them. Every single person who has made an attempt to change the world in one way or the other, they would likely not be complacent. You know why? What is driving them is that there are still problems in the world. Yeah. A good example is Bill Gates, for example. Now, I mean, Microsoft is already a really massive organization. And if he just says, oh, I just want to chill out and do nothing again, he still has enough money, even if he chooses not to do anything again. But do you see how he's constantly investing in research for medical issues all across the world? Yeah. Why do you think he's doing that? Because he's at that place where he's saying that even though in my career, in that sense, I've achieved a lot, there are still problems in the world we want to solve. What can we do to solve them? So you see that there's really no room for complacency on all levels, right? And we must keep these 3 things I've mentioned, have a picture of the next, keep your community in a way that there are people challenging you, and ensure at all times you are thinking about what's the greater value you want to offer to your world. How do you want to change your own world where you are? Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. We'll take a quick word from Strength Word before we continue.
If you're looking to boost your business brilliance, you're an entrepreneur, or you run a school, have a restaurant, or you're just individuals who like to showcase your story, please feel free to do so via Trends Watch Weekly magazine. You can amplify your influence. Visit our website www.trendswatch.co/contact/ to be part of the next big thing.
Thank you, Azonta. I see the fire. At TrendsWatch.co, we are dedicated to providing cutting-edge trend analysis for businesses worldwide. Our platforms empower decision makers with actionable insights to stay ahead of the curve. With unparalleled expertise and a commitment to innovation, we are your trusted partner in navigating the ever-changing business landscape. Again, you can visit our website on www.trendswatch.co for more information. Welcome back to the segment. We're about 27 minutes into our program. And please do remember that we'll be sharing the recorded version on our social media platforms once this event is done. So my next question for you, Teresa, is failure and setbacks are often encountered in life. How can a commitment to lifelong learning positively impact your professional development and business growth?
Thank you for that question. And I would like to start off by saying that except you are not doing anything, you will experience failure. The only person that is immune to failure is the person who is just there and is not trying to achieve anything. And so you must, first establish that in your mind that if you're on that part of saying, oh, I want to make something out of my life, be ready to shake hands with failure at some point, right? And so we must normalize that these things happen. So that's the first thing I would say.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing I would say is a major way to deal with failure, especially if you're a person who is saying, no, there's something I'm working on, there's something I'm trying to do, but, there's this, there was this setback. So I'm wondering, how do I go ahead and know? The first thing I would say, and, linking it to the learner's mindset is the fact that you must be able to switch how you see failure.
Yeah.
You must be able to flip the way you see failure. And the only way you can do that is to see failure as a means to learn. Do you see? And so you see how it ties together that at the end of the day, failure is a learning curve. So it's not necessary that this thing won't work. It's that this is not how to do it. Or, there's something missing in this equation. I need to go back and learn again. Do you see? And if you are not willing to learn, you will stay in that space of failure and you will not be able to move ahead. So many times, learning is actually sort of like the bridge that takes you from failure to the next level of success, right? And that's what we can see, we can see. I mean, look at Thomas Edison. That guy did how many samples of the light bulb before it finally came up, right? Maybe 1,000, if I'm not mistaken, right? And now imagine if he felt like, oh, this thing isn't working, I'm done. Now just imagine what it would look like if we still didn't have the light bulbs. I don't want to imagine anyway, but well, I mean, just look at how somebody was determined enough to keep in spite of that failure and that seeming, oh, this thing isn't working. And it's also because he was able to say, okay, what can I learn from here? What do I need to make sure doesn't happen the next time? And that's really where learning comes in. You must be able to analyze what has happened and say, okay, this is why this didn't work. Do you see? And that's why the way to learn and get the best out of failure is to actually analyze the failure. And I think it's even both ways, right? I feel like you analyze failure, you analyze success. So you are saying, what worked? Why did it succeed? How can I transfer it to the next thing I'm working on? Oh, what didn't work? Why did this fail? What are the lessons learned? The interesting thing about failure is that the lessons you learn from failing, maybe at the project in work, you can apply even in your business to ensure you don't fail. You see? So many times the principles that maybe drive failure or drive success are transferable. So you can transfer it to other things, other areas of your life. So it's important to be able to analyze and say that, okay, what didn't go well? And that's where the learner's mindset is. You must approach failure with that attitude of, what can I learn from here? And what are the lessons I'm taking that I would ensure I don't repeat the next time? So that's what I would say about that.
Thank you, Teresa. So my final question to you is, people often mention that intelligence is not sufficient to maximize opportunities in life. What is your view on grit and resilience in driving success, especially for young professionals?
Thank you. So there's this quote from John Maxwell that I feel like, just really makes a lot of sense. And it's that talent is never enough, right? With few exceptions of the best, with very few exceptions, the best players are the hardest workers. And I think you've probably seen people who it feels like, oh, this person is putting in more. Why? It's actually because somebody can be talented, somebody can be good, right? But when they don't apply maybe practice, maybe resilience, grit, showing up, discipline to that talent or skill or ability, what will happen is they'll end up as mediocres. And you know that mediocres usually don't make it to the top, right? And so if you want to be outstanding, then you cannot stay at the space of saying, oh, I'm intelligent and that's about it. Do you see? Except, again, right, the question is, do you want to be outstanding? If yes, then intelligence alone, talent alone cannot be enough. You have to add a lot of other things, Sometimes you have to add commitment. Sometimes you have to add extra practice. Sometimes you have to add unusual levels of hard work, right? And now even coming to the part of grit and resilience. Remember, we just spoke about failure. We just talked about how, failure can actually impact, about how that you are likely going to meet failure at some point. Do you see? Now, grit and resilience is just speaking to the fact that even though I've encountered this failure, I don't quit, right? And it just, it's just a good reminder to quickly plug back the example we just gave of Thomas Edison. Imagine the ripple effect of if he gave up. Imagine all of us are still living in darkness and there's no light bulb because somebody just felt like, oh, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore. And so you see that many times. The interesting thing about grit and resilience, about showing up, is that it doesn't even only affect you. It affects a lot of people. People are watching you. Somebody is just inspired by your ability to bounce back after a challenge. And imagine if you now feel like, oh, I'm not doing this thing again because it didn't work out. And so it's important to always note that intelligence is important, intelligence is good, intelligence is critical, but grit and resilience, when added to that intelligence, now gives you more results. It gives you the opportunity to, go beyond what an ordinary intelligent person would do, and it helps you to be outstanding. So that's what I'll say about that.
I absolutely agree with you. I'll use my life story as an example. To God's glory, I've always been a brilliant and intelligent student, straight A's, always in the first three, come home with, lots of prizes and all. Now, in my secondary school, I remember specifically in SS2, my father being my father decided that you're not going to wait to SS3 to try your hands on WAEC and NECO. Why not do it in SS2? I mean, if you pass, it's all cool. If not, you know where, to adjust. Now, me being me, knowing that from the get-go, I'd always, just skilled in all my tests and all of that, did not prepare for this exam. Like I tell you for free, it wasn't even in my state. It took me to one village in a state, and because I was free, there was no parental, supervision to say go and read, go and do this. I played, shake you. When results came out, I could not believe it was my result. I argued, do you know who I am? Do you know what this grade can do? But because I was too, will I say, focused on how much I had and did not think to sharpen that tool of intelligence in me. Of course, the result came glaring in my face. And then I knew that you can know book, but you still have to read book to retain that knowing book. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Teresa. You've been so wonderful so far. Guys, you've been listening to us. If you have any questions for Teresa or about Friendsword, please put in the chat box and let's have you. We are going to be having another segment on Saturday, 16th of March, 2024. And we are going to be discussing a beautiful topic as usual. Our topic for the next episode is going to be navigating distraction and avoiding procrastination for success in business and career. And we are going to be having a male host this time around. I've always said there are lots of females, and the only woman who talk. you know. So we're having a male host this time around. His name is Kenneth Awam, and he's going to be here with us on Zoom on Trent Watch Connect. So 8 p.m. on 2 Saturdays from now, mark your calendar. That would be 16th of March. We always do this every fortnight. So mark your calendars and be here by 8 p.m. So do we have any questions for Teresa from the audience?
If you're looking to boost your business brilliance, you're an entrepreneur or you run a school, have a restaurant, or you're just individuals who like to showcase your story, please feel free to do so via Trends Watch Weekly magazine. You can amplify your influence. Visit our website www.trendswatch.co/contact/ to be part of the next big thing.
How can we apply the learner's mindset in order to scale our personal lives? Teresa, your question.
Okay, so thank you for that question. And I think it's really important. It's an important conversation. And the first thing I would say about applying the learner's mindset to, improve your life is that I'll start by saying that be introspective, right? Where are you with your life, right? So for example, across maybe some of the core pillars or with your career, where are you with your career? Are you getting the kind of results you want? Or with your business, if you have a business, with your personal life, with your relationships, with even your health, your fitness, and all of that. The first thing is to be introspective, right? And that's actually where learning starts. I mean, many of us have probably been introduced to a learning that's la cram la poor if you went to a Nigerian university. But actually, learning starts from introspection. So you really want to ask, where am I? What's really happening in my life and all of that. And based off on that, you're like, oh, these are the areas where I don't seem to be, where I should be, right? Oh, yeah. I would like to be here, but I'm here. Then you say, what information, what knowledge can close the gap between where I am now and where I would, where I want to be, do you see? And that is really what learning should do, right? That is actually what learning should do. So with every aspect of your life, you're saying, what's the gap between where I am today and where I want to be for each of these areas? Oh, now that I've seen what the gap is, Miriam, I completely agree. What books do I need to read, for example? What courses do I need to take? And let me use a practical example. If, for example, I was, maybe I'm a data analyst, right? And I've been working, doing my stuff, and I'm really good at my job, right? And then for some reason, thankfully, I got promoted and I'm now maybe the manager. Sorry, please. I saw Better by Far Code and I went to University of Ilorin, so I'm just excited. So I had to pause to recognize that comment.
I saw it. Right.
James, thank you. Ilorin people. Anyways, let me go ahead. So, you are, so I was using the example of this data analyst. So, and then I become maybe the manager of the data analytics team for my organization. Now I'm leading people. I'm not just doing projects. Now, if I realize that I'm struggling with my leadership, what does it mean? There's a gap in my leadership. What should I do? Go and learn about it. So at this point, my data analysis skill is excellent, but now I need an additional skill. So do you see how learning actually works? This really how it works. Yeah. And I hope that example, has sort of brought it closer home, right? So you must be able to say, what do I need to get to where I want to be? And saying, what are the learnings that I now need, right? So as against saying, oh, this is the course everybody's taking and I take the course, I'm saying, what do I want to achieve? What courses would help me achieve that? And then I do that. So yeah, I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, thank you. We're going to take one last question before we round up today's program. And it's from James Pokwala. He said, thank you, Teresa, for the presentation. My question goes thus. I observed you leave the talk. How were you able to attend the Oxford Side program after finishing Uniloan? What are the things you wish you knew before you entered university?
Okay, so let me quickly answer that. So basically what I've done since I left school is I keep myself informed. I look for opportunities. Literally, my friends feel like if they need to know any event happening or anything that will contribute to their growth, they should just send me a DM. They are so that even if I'm not attending, I know what is happening and I can recommend it. So that's what I did. I still do anyway. And that was how I found the Oxford Said Business School program. So I was literally just researching and I got to know about the program. I applied and that's it.
So what are the things you wish you knew before you entered university?
My God, that question always gives me chills every single time, I'm asked. And reason is that I had an amazing time in school, to be honest. I actually did have an amazing time, but I look back and I feel like there are things I would have wanted to do. For example, I wished I ran for a political office. That's something I really wish I did in school. I really wish I did, but I mean, that's what I wanted to preach. Now, one of the first thing is that, or the major thing is that being book smart is great, but it's not all. Yes. I think for me, that was a major thing I wish I knew. I mean, because I went to a secondary school that our motto was strictly for the serious-minded. That was my secondary school's motto. We were serious-minded. There was no inter-house sport. What was inter-house sport? There was nothing like that. There was nothing. You had to either read or read, right? There was no excursion. So now this same secondary school now, you see them saying, oh, they are traveling somewhere. I'm like, you guys, you didn't treat us well, no, right? But I'm happy for how the school has also evolved. But that was how the school was then. So you were either going for cowbell mathematics competition or going for a debate or doing stuff like that. And that was the mindset I went to the university with. So I read my books and I think I did well. I think I did well on my results. But that was really it, right? I feel like I did not expose myself to other opportunities outside my core discipline, which is chemical engineering. Yeah. So when I was in the university, I didn't read too much of the kind of books I started to read when I was in service here. So some of the personal development books I started to read, I wish I read a lot of them when I was in school, like books on money making, books on leadership. I wish I did that when I was in school. I also, just like I said, I also wished, I went into politics. I also wished I volunteered, right? I wish that I exposed myself to volunteering roles. I wish that, aside the mandatory IT I had to do, I wish I actually did more internship. I gained some work experience and I learned how to manage people, how to relate with people in the workplace. So I feel like, it still boils down to what I said, right? Being book smart is good, but it's not all. So you must be able to build a holistic life in school. So I think for me, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It's been amazing having you. Special thank you to every one of you who stayed on this episode with us. You are all doing MVP. This episode is produced by Musa Muhammad. Research was done by Azonta Udochukwu. Our executive producer is Sana Kindiri, and I'm your host, Zainab Yusuf Abdurrahim. Thank you so much again to everyone who's been on this call. We hope to see you 2 Saturdays from now with another value-packed event and another beautiful and amazing host. Until then, have a blessed night. Bye, guys.
If you're looking to boost your business brilliance, you're an entrepreneur or you run a school, have a restaurant, or you're just individuals who like to showcase your story, please feel free to do so via Trendswatch Weekly magazine. You can amplify your influence. Visit our website www.trendswatch.co/contact/ to be part of the next big thing.